Hello, and welcome to the weekly reading. True to the Scorpio Full Moon, which starts this week, I am adding one of Scorpio's totems, which is the serpent. It is also the year of the snake, currently still. So it's a very good time to really enhance all the snake qualities, like shedding one's skin. That's a big one for this year, and indeed for this moon. And transforming, alchemizing yourself, growing out of a skin that no longer fits you so that you can make space for the one that does. Scorpio is also a sign that is not afraid to go where angels fear to tread. And so I've brought in a more bitter and a more sour oil this week with lime and grapefruit, because Scorpio is not concerned about going into bitter, sour, smelly, stinky, challenging, sludgy, shadowy spaces in order to transform. I mean, that's kind of where the alchemy happens. So harnessing that Scorpio energy. We also have Mercury has now moved into Taurus. So that is new for this week as well. He's moving pretty fast, but in Taurus, our thinking is a lot more sluggish in many ways and fixed and stubborn and resistant to changing the way we think. Which is also the opposite sign. Taurus is the opposite sign to Scorpio, and it's where the sun is, and this full moon is conjunct Uranus, which is also about breaking out of old thinking. So we're going to be challenged this week to go into some of the places we don't want to go, and they'll, depending whether you're stronger in Scorpio or Taurus, you are going to find that some of that is exciting and an adventure to go into those places and learn those things, and some of that is not exciting at all. It's just awful. You won't enjoy it at all, and you might dig your heels in. So this is about facing what comes this week in the best way possible for you. And remember, this is not a personal reading, it is a collective reading. So pick a number between 1 and 4 to get a slightly more personal slant on it, and let's jump in. Okay, there's the overall picture. And you can see we have 2 4s, which is always interesting when you get to 2. And then we have 2 swords, which is interesting. And we have all of the suits barring cups represented here today. We have 2 swords cards, we have a pentacles, and we have a wands. Of course, if you chose card number 1, then this part of the reading is most prevalent for you. But it is a overall reading, so all of the cards will have importance. Your focal point will just be card number 1 or whatever number you picked. And I love how there is actually a beautiful full moon in this card. And he is moving with stealth and speed, and he is trying to move in the shadows. But interestingly, it's quite hard to move in the shadows when there's a big full moon. You're quite visible and spotlit even in the nighttime. So I want you to consider about where it is that you're trying to move strategically or stealthily or deceptively as well. He has actually just been finding feathers. I think more finding feathers than cutting them off, although he is carrying a blade, so, he's ready for anything. So if this is the card you chose, and also just as the initial card of this reading, kind of setting us up for this reading, the anchor card, so to speak, it's important for us to actually go into those shadowy spaces, even if they're uncomfortable, and to look at the darker parts of ourselves, where we are being strategic in a way that is deceptive and self-serving or self-sacrificing. Just going to look at the more uncomfortable, depending on very much on your personality. That's why it's hard for me to give you too many guides there, because it depends on you and where the darker parts of you are coming through. But we also have the 4 of Pentacles. So there's a slightly destabilized kind of energy in the 7 of Swords, but then there's this really stabilized energy in the 4 of Pentacles. And this is very much that Taurian energy, the 4 of Pens. And you can see she's holding on to her purse. So she's being very sensible and practical, maybe a little bit frugal or not very generous. That can come through in this card, but certainly stable. Even though her eyes are closed, she's focusing forward. She has this energy of moving into the next card, moving towards the future. In fact, this guy or gal, you can't tell, in the 7 of Swords is also moving forward. So once we go into the shadow, once we figure out what's going on in there, we are more able to move forward with more intention and attention to the fact that we don't want to fall back into old patterns. The Four of Pentacles can be quite patterny. It can be quite repetitive. As I say, we do have two fours. And for me, 4 is oftentimes where we hit our first kind of hurdle in the journey, in a sense, because an ace is a new beginning. A 2 is a choice point, which is a little scary but exciting. A 3 is usually kind of getting together to be creative, to problem solve, to waiting for something exciting to happen because we made this decision. And when we get to 4, it's like, well, now we start to have to do the harder, drudgier work, and it can get a little bit heavy or sticky or stubborn or tired. And we have 2 of those this week. So the energy is exceptionally intense, as we know, for the last few years and for the next few, but also right now at this full moon. And because we have, and at the very end of this week, I neglected to mention, Venus will finally move out of shadow. So we're finally, after having this very intermingled Mars, Venus, Mercury retrograde cycle, at the end of this week, finally, I think it's on Friday, finally that process will be completed. But the Four of Pentacles is saying, watch your finances, be sensible about things. Don't overspend, because maybe you fell into your shadows and you kind of got a little bit carried away. Then we have 2 cards at the end here that really caution us against burnout. I feel like this is not the first time that I'm saying this as well. And we are still in Taurus season for about another, 9 or 10 days. I think it's until the 21st of the month. So what are we on? May. 21st of May is the end of Taurus season. And when we hit Gemini season, if you have not grounded yourself, if you have not gotten yourself nourished, it is going to become infinitely harder to do. Gemini, by its very nature, is it's a butterfly. It's all over the place. I mean, I am a Gemini, I can speak to this. Unfocused, scattered, very busy, doesn't know how to sit still and rest. So if you have not, and I can feel myself speaking to myself as I say this, if you have not gotten yourself centered, grounded, regulated in the next 10 days, you are going to have 9 days. You are going to have a lot harder time doing it. So this is, and these 2 recognize, these 2 are also both upside down. So this is a strong caution. This is a warning. Don't delay. Don't say, oh, I've got deadlines. I'll calm myself down in a few days, which will turn into a few weeks, which will turn into Gemini season, at which point it's going to be not super easy to do. And Gemini season leads into Cancer season, and then you're going to be emotional wreck by that point if you haven't regulated and centered and grounded and fed yourself in the way that you need feeding. So whether that is healthy nutrition, actual food, whether that is more rest, whether that is more play, whatever it is for you, please don't delay. And this can be simple mindfulness practices that are applied to your day-to-day, like just taking a few minutes in the morning to journal how you're feeling, or doing some gratitudes in the evening, or taking that evening walk. It doesn't have to be, oh, well, I don't have time now to go on a holiday, or I don't have finances now to get away for a weekend. It doesn't have to be so big. It can be small things, but they're very, very important, because the 8 of Wands in its upright form is all about speed. Upside down, it's like, first of all, there can be some kind of a delay. There can be a speed bump or a roadblock, but also the potential to burn out if you keep going at such an accelerated pace. And the energies are pushing us at an accelerated pace. So it is for us to find the spaces in between, the pauses, the breaths, the pause at the top of an inhale and the bottom of an exhale. They're momentary, but they're important. Intention, mindfulness, that kind of practice will help you to really find some slowness. A 3-minute meditation where you just sit still, be quiet, listen to your heart, tap out of the day. Those are the kind of things that are really being demanded from you now, because the 4 of Swords is absolutely the burnout card. And it's when you're out of tune with your heart. She's having to reweave that heart energy into her psyche. She's having to go into the nest and rest. She's having to reconnect to her heart. She's so burnt out. Remember, swords is air, which is our mental faculty. She's so burnt out. She's so shattered and exhausted that she has no choice but to rest. And in the dream state, we tap into the unconscious. We tap into the shadowy parts, bringing them back into coherence, because we cannot avoid our shadow. We need to integrate our shadow. So here she has to rest. She has to go into the deep knowing. She has to tune into her heart and out of her mind. Maybe recognize where her mind has gotten her frazzled and burnt out, where that pace of go, 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 this is a fire card. Fire and air together, I mean, that's like a forest fire waiting to happen. So how do you find those pauses, those moments, those little intentional mindful spaces, no matter how big or small, but ideally consistently? Because Taurus is also about slow and steady wins the race. 1 foot in front of the other. Walk, don't run. Stroll, don't stride. Take it slower. Go inward. Check in with your heart. Quiet your mind. I mean, I'm a Gemini again. There's no quietening this mind, but maybe learning to slow it, finding spaces and moments in my life, and then letting my mind run, because she does that. She's a busy gal. Let my mind run, but also guide her with my heart. When I see my mind going off track, how can I bring my heart back behind the steering wheel and not let my mind run the show? That's the kind of things you need to see. And oftentimes you have to go into your darker parts to realize what's driving you from the shadows. Okay, I'm going to call it a day with that one. I hope you call it a week, shall I say. I hope you have enjoyed this reading. I appreciate your likes, shares, follows, and subscribes. And I will be back again with you next week.